Thank you so much for the opportunity, Raviji. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I was just curious at that point, like a person coming from a different upbringing, different culture, it
Mhm.
takes, I think, a great amount of persuasion or conviction or like inspiration from someone to be inspired from the culture of a different continent, not just a country, right? So, so what was your point, your turning point that led to this path, this Bhakti Yoga?
Um, yeah, if you look at the bigger picture, there's a lot of moving parts, but really it was actually really simple. Um, just how everyone's looking for love, you know, and everyone's looking for happiness and bliss inside. It's true for everyone, Western, Eastern, everybody, all souls, you know.
Right.
And when I got when I came in touch with like the love and the bliss of Radha and Krishna, and inside so full and so happy and so blissed out, and I'd done so many things before, all different things, looking for the happiness and bliss, and it was always short falling and short lived, or took a huge amount of effort for just a little bitty spot of happiness and bliss, you know. But when their love and bliss came, it just stayed, you know.
Wow.
And it was amazing because I didn't really have to do anything but just love them, and then they love me. And I was doing my day to day life. I was just doing my little bhakti practice each day, and I don't know, my life filled with that love. It just changed everything, man. It's, I, I, as a kid, there was different churches and places I would go, and they would always feel off, you know. But I don't know. When I came in touch with the love and the bliss of Radha and Krishna, it just wow, lit my world up, changed everything. And it wasn't overnight, and it wasn't instantaneous, but there was a few moments that were instantaneous that just let me know that it was really different, and it really resonated with my soul so much. And then those moments would come, and then the purification would come, and then the growth would come, and then me working on my stuff, which wasn't always very fun, would come. And then as I would chip away at it, more and more of that love would stay over time. And so I don't know, it's just amazing. Yeah, it's really simple but complex simultaneously. Yeah, you know? Yeah.
Right. Obviously, means humans seek this basic fundamentals, like what you are saying. Like it's not about culture; it's a basic human emotion, the bliss, the love, right? That's which binds people from means even polar apart if they are, but they all seek the same thing, right? So, but my curiosity is, uh, okay, it looks very simple in practice, right? Uh, but is bhakti merely an emotion, or there is some deeper understanding behind it? It's not just emotion, right? It's something more than that. What is it? Yeah.
You know, I was just talking to a friend of mine about this yesterday, and it's really interesting because the human soul is, by its nature, created to be pleasure seeking, right? So, and our soul remembers the love of God, which is like an endless ocean of bliss and joy and happiness that never ends, right? So, while we're here, and our mind and our senses are material, and they convince us that this next material thing is going to be fulfilling and happy. And it is some happy, and then some problems, you know? So, but when we engage in that, our soul remembers endless ocean of love. So that's why it starts falling short, because that's not really available anywhere else but God, you know? And so it, yeah, that's just the nature of it. Even though our material senses and mind keep trying to convince us that it's not. And Maya in the material world is great at distracting us in every way possible. And every way seems fresh and new with Maya in the material. But yeah, it's the only place that that level of love is available is with God and the love of God, you know? So,
Wonderful.
yeah.
And for the audience, I may have gave it like a very short intro of yourself. So you can also tell about yourself from where you are talking. And I have heard from Pradeep ji that you do a lot of kirtan by visiting different places, right? So you can tell about that also.
Sure. I first started on the Bhakti Yoga path when I was in school to be a therapist. And so I um, was just doing my little practice at home and studying with my teacher and going to class. And then I was working with clients at the time doing Western medicine, like Western therapy. And I was having all these amazing healing experiences inside. So, like, anxiety was going away, depression was going away, general worry, and then just like an overall happiness started growing inside. And at the same time, I was learning that the therapeutic models and therapy in general, it's a great tool and it'll heal some, but not to the same level and in the same way that the bhakti, the path of bhakti will heal, and getting closer to Radha and Krishna will heal. And it was really profound for me, and it kept growing over time. I had body aches and pains go away that I didn't know about. Again, depression, anxiety. Um, there's this thing that we do. It's called looped thinking, right? So, and it's a pretty normal style of coping, and everyone will have their version of it. So let's say you have a friend. Every time you go out with this friend, your friend makes you pay for tea. And you're like, I am not doing this next time, right? So you're thinking about the next time you're going to hang out with your friend, I'm not going to do this again. I'm not going to. I know they're going to ask. I'm not going to do it. I'm not, right? So that's looped thinking, right? And so we'll do a version of that over anything that stresses us out. And what I noticed was even patterns of looped thinking would be alleviated and lifted. And some of the heavier ones in meditation, because I would just meditate with Radha and Krishna a lot and just imagine being with them and hanging out with them and interacting with them and like darshan and connecting. And even some of the heavier looped thinking pieces in the mind would just be alleviated and just pushed out of the way at the point of the karma being lifted and healed and them wanting to remove it out of the way, which is amazing. Because as I spent more and more time with Radha and Krishna, and when things came up and they got in the way of my growth or my path, or something would be coming up to rock my boat, Radha and Krishna would just be like, oh, no, come over here like this. And oh, no, let's don't focus on that today. Let's think about this. Or like they'd distract me like a little kid, which works. And then next thing you know, it would just flow on by. And then I would keep chipping away at the path and the growth and the work and that kind of thing. And so then I finished school, and everyone was like, how long do you want this intro to be? Like, it can go a minute. Is it okay? Or you want a shorter version? What's your preference? Ah. So here's the thing that I've been learning as I've been on my path. What helps each soul grow their love for God is different. And so instead of teaching one specific path, like one specific set of rituals or one specific way or one specific idea on connecting with God and growing your love for God, instead, it's teaching people how to feel what resonates with their heart and their soul and helps them connect with God. What helps them connect with Radha and Krishna. Like, if you naturally gravitate towards, say, gardening, and you spend every day gardening. And when you're not gardening, you're thinking about what kind of plants you want to plant here and what you want to put there and what should you do and what season is it and how much rain will come and what should you prepare for, right? So your mind is naturally engrossed in gardening because that's what you're into. So instead of teaching, toss all that away and go sit in a temple all the time and read a book all the time and memorize things all the time, which works for some people. Instead, it would be include God in your gardening. So it would be, just as an example, like picture Radha and Krishna and be like, Radha and Krishna, do you want flowers over here? Do you want corn over there? Do you want another vegetable over here. And that interaction, it makes it devotional, and it makes the act of that part of gardening like divine and divinely connected. And so it's basically bringing Radha and Krishna and the love of God and thinking of God into your life in ways and in things that you already do and that you're naturally gravitating towards. Because what would happen otherwise is if you go to a service or a temple and you spend hours there all the time, you're going to be like, man, I wish I was home gardening, right? You're not going to be thinking about God and like being able to bring the two together, because you're going to be like, if I was home, I could get those flower beds weeded, I could get those plants put out, the seasoning's getting started, you know what I mean? So, but in combining the two, it makes it way more effortless, and it's helping you build your devotion, which turns into basically like a walking meditation all day long. But the foundation of it is start with some basic things like a morning prayer and set the intent for the day and set the focus for the day. Like for me, I would be asking Radha and Krishna to be with me all day and other things. And and I can send you a copy of that if you want to just put it up. It's like a template, and so people can take a look at it. It's short,
Okay.
and then that would bring Radha and Krishna closer through the day, and then I would just connect the things I was already doing and into. Like if I go to work, I'd be like, Radha and Krishna, I'm going to work to afford a house, to afford food, to live in it, so I can sleep and live and think of y'all and do my service each day for you. And so what it does is it changes your relationship with those things. They become less material, even though the action doesn't change really, because you're doing it anyway and you're thinking of it anyway. It just connects Radha and Krishna to it, and so it changes everything about it, which is amazing, because you'll be doing the same thing, and the whole
Right.
experience inside will start to shift, and outside you're doing exactly the same thing. Yeah, it's really profound. Yeah,
Yeah.
and
So,
so
so yeah.
and so in going back to your question more specifically, if it's kirtan or it's scripture or it's going to sacred places, whatever of those helps you grow your love, and whatever of those helps you think of Radha and Krishna more and fill your mind more, that's the answer. So it's
Wonderful.
yeah, so it's just practicing what helps the soul and the person connect the most. Yeah.
And I think it solves many issues at one go. Like it is karma yoga, what we define that. Yeah,
Mhm.
it's
Yeah.
it becomes free of ego. It becomes very much selfless, right? It's
Yeah. Yeah,
wonderful.
it's what can happen is if first off, if someone tries to create one process for everybody, it's it's not really a good fit. You're going to have like a certain foundation of ritual, right? But then you grow beyond the foundation. You'll keep parts of it, and then you'll replace other parts of it with like gardening. Whereas like your best friend may hate to garden. So setting in the garden
Right.
every day would move him further away from thinking about Radha and Krishna as anything else possible. Or your spouse or your partner or your kids, right? Same. May not work for any of them, but it may be like spot on for you. And so it's helping people learn to feel that connection and trust that connection and know that they're going to grow and change, and their devotion and their connection is going to grow and change. Because some people become really afraid and then they won't trust their own connection. And then they'll go into a ritual or a routine where they read like 100,000 verses a day every day. But that that will lift your vibration and that will reduce the material energy with you, but that doesn't necessarily grow your relationship with God and with like Radha and Krishna. It What I found is in just in the idea of devotion, right? When we look at a picture of Radha and Krishna, the soul looks up and it sees the reflection in the mind, and the soul remembers Radha and Krishna, and it's like, so then it sends love and everything out to it, the picture of Radha and Krishna, right? But then what makes it real is Radha and Krishna respond. And that's when we feel the bliss and the joy and the love inside, right? And so what you're doing is you're taking that really basic principle about devotion and you're applying it to how you grow your relationship with friends or people that you know, right? So like if you had friends and they were into gardening, y'all would just garden together and hang out. So then you would picture Radha and Krishna as your friend gardening with you and you hang out. And then what happens is just as they were the same as they respond to the soul sending love, Radha and Krishna send love and bliss back to you while you're gardening even more. And it makes it real. And then that grows your devotion. And then that moves it into the walking meditation throughout the day. Yeah.
Right. Right. So it's no returning back, means when you saw the result and it just becomes contagious.
Yeah, nothing else really compares much, you know, like I didn't have I'm not really running away from anything. Like I finished school, I was going to be a therapist, I was going to live in a little house, I was going to work over the phone, and then I was going to do my devotional practice each day and make music and just live life. That was my plan, you know. And then Krishna came into meditation. He was like, "No, at some point I'm going to want you to do stuff." And I was like, "Oh, that's terrible. Why would you do that?" And then he laughed, you know. And so then I was like, okay, fine. So if I have to do stuff, because this love thing is amazing and I don't want to give up the love, you know, I was like, okay, I'll wear white. I'll write some self help books. I'll put them on the shelf with the other 100 million self help books. And whoever reads them, reads them. And that's how it goes. And then we'll live in a little house and we'll be a therapist. And that's what we do. And he was like, and I didn't have the cultural context of becoming a sannyas and wearing orange, and I didn't have the understanding of it. And so the first time my teacher mentioned it, like my teacher, he's only got like 2 or 3 students, and he's more of a Babaji, and he hangs out at home a lot, and he's got a PhD in Sanskrit, and he's super traditional, super traditional. And so I was up there visiting him one of the times I've been. And he was like, "Would you want to wear saffron?" He was like, "If you do, you can't do this or 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 this." And I was like, "I think that not no, no, that's not a good idea. It's just not a good idea." I was like, "Yeah." But then Krishna came into my meditation and he explained it to me, like wearing orange and what it means, and that he could do more for me, and that there would be more of his consciousness and presence available for the people that would come to connect, and um, it would just be more in that way. And he explained it daily for like 10 months because literally I had no context for it. I just didn't. And then at the end of 10 months, Krishna asked me to put on orange. And there was so much love and bliss and just amazingness. I told him I would try. So we're trying. And so I'm a little under 2 years of wearing orange and traveling around and teaching. Intro to Bhakti Yoga. I have 3 books. They're on Amazon, and I'm putting them on some other places. And I usually teach like a guided meditation. I'll go over some basic principles of bhakti, just like I was talking about, where helping the person start to feel the soul and feel their heart and what resonates with them. And then growing into the point of starting to build their devotion around that and growing their relationship with like Radha and Krishna as they would grow up with another human in their devotion. And I do kirtan music, and there's some music that streams on Spotify. It's Bhakti Yoga Monk. I think I got 4 recordings up there right now. Gonna try and do a remix. We'll see how that goes. And then the books are also under Bhakti Yoga Monk, and they're on Amazon, and they'll be coming on Ingram, so other platforms as well. And so I really haven't taught much in temples so far. I've mainly been teaching in like healing centers, metaphysical shops, some meditation schools, retreat centers, yoga studios. Yeah, more like that so far. And then I think I'm going to start visiting temples soon, but there's a lot of cultural context I don't have. Just
Right. Right.
as an example, right? A good friend of mine in Seattle, good friends, they in the South, when you go to church, you give everybody like a church hug and you pat them on the back and you're like, "How are you doing? How's your family? How's your mama? How's everybody? How's your neighbor? How's your dog? Is your dog better? Oh, that's great. I'm glad to hear it." And that is the last thing you do wearing orange as a sunglasses in a temple, you know.
Right.
So I met a good friend of mine up there, and I'm like, "How are you doing? It's so good to see you." Blah 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 blah. Just talking, talking, talking. He's like, "Yeah, I think people kind of think you should be quiet." And I was like, "Quiet? Wow, really quiet?" He's like, "Yeah." In meditation, I was like, "My picture Radha and Krishna all the time. You know, they're with me, and I'm talking to them all the time inside, whether I'm talking or not. You know." And he was like, "Yeah, but people." They kind of think you should be quiet. And I'm like, "Oh, quiet. Okay, quiet. Yeah, quiet." So then I got quiet and I was like, but then people still didn't talk to me. And I was like, "People still don't talk." He's like, "Oh, well, you're just supposed to ask everybody for what you need right off the cuff." And I was like, "And not ask them how they're doing or their family or any of that." Like, it's so not my nature. I mean, I can do it, but to go in and be like, "You do this and you do this and this and this and this, and this," you know what I mean? But yeah, so it's been really interesting. And this was right after I put on saffron a year and a half ago. So it was. I went to a
Okay.
gathering. I went to a gathering, and it was a gathering in town, and the people were doing their thing, and it was a kirtan, and I made friends with the kirtan person who was going to lead it. And so I was like, okay, well, I'll go sit in the back of the room because I'm wearing like the big flowy, shiny orange, like bright orange, like formal clothes, you know. I'll go sit in the back of the room because it's super distracting. I was like, I'll stay back there. So I sat down in the back of the room. This sort of stuff was happening nonstop while I was doing it. And so I was sitting there, and then everybody that came in the room was a devout Hindu and sat behind me. So then when the kirtan band got on stage, we're like way back in the back. I was like, "Oh man, wow." It's just funny. Yeah. And so I'm still learning a lot about that. Yeah. It's,
Wonderful.
some fun
Wonderful.
experiences.
Just wonderful. Yeah.
Yeah.
So you also mentioned like you are also a teacher, right? You means bring devotion into lives of other people. So uh, how you do that? Means can we have some sense of like idea of your world of teaching and experience with the person who is facing problem, mental problem and issues? How it goes? Yeah.
So in in my first little book, I had it starts so each book is designed like a therapeutic workbook. So they're not really like just a normal book, and they're not like a linear start with the beginning, read straight through, memorize and know what you know, and then you're done with it. It's more the first half of this is each book is half and half. Each book is half written, ideas and principles and understanding, and then the second half is like bhakti practices. So like guided meditation practices, or um, they're modeled after therapy models. So like in the first one, there's like 4 or 5 different style of questions. So one would be an art prompt. So draw a picture of the longing for love in your chest, and now draw a picture of that longing being fulfilled. Another prompt is movement or the body. So another prompt would be as you're washing your hands or just water is running over your hands, imagine that being loving light of Radha and Krishna and washing away impurities as you're saying Radhe, 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 Radhe. And so what I was going for is in therapeutic models like that, it goes around different filters that we have that can be karmic filters, I guess it'd all be karmic, or emotional filters or mental filters. So if I was telling you something right now and there's a certain word in there, that would trigger a certain filter, you wouldn't really be able to hear anything else I was saying because that word would be upsetting because of like karma or a past life or something that happened as a kid, right? And so we have a lot of filters like that on just receiving
Right.
information. And so when I was putting together these little exercises for people to do at home, I wanted to use a lot of different styles. So movement is a good one. Artwork is a good one. There's the normal one where it just asks questions for you to start thinking about things in a different way, just to break down current understandings or ideas. And the thing of it is too, in the books, again, they're set up not to be linear. So there may be 5 or 6 different kinds of questions. Two of those may help you, and the rest of them not.
Right.
So then you would just focus on those two. You may grow, and then some other two may help you. So you could go back through and go through it again and check it out. But it's it's trying to help people start to feel more comfortable with exploring what their spirituality is for them and what helps them connect with God the most for them. Again, the gardening example. It's sort of the
Yeah,
thing. You
absolutely.
probably know a lot of gardeners that have never even really thought about connecting it to their devotion, you know? And they do it they garden all the time, and then they probably have the stress of doing the ritual or being at the place at a certain time or whatever they've been told to do or believe they need to do that's away from what they do naturally, you know? And that more is more. And that's not really the case so much. The faster we go, then the more shows up to do. So then we're doing more and it's more and more and more, but then the intent and the focus and what are we thinking about while we're doing it, like those things often get lost. And so that's
Yeah.
something that can also happen with a lot of Gyanam yoga and karma yoga, where people are super active and always doing seva or super reading scriptures all the time nonstop. Now some people, there'll be a few people on the outliers who it fits them so much, it helps them grow their love. So their love naturally grows, or past lives, or whatever reason that their bhakti will grow with that. But oftentimes, bhakti will get overlooked or forgotten. It'll be assumed that it's there, but, and again, every so often it may be, but bhakti it's the only yoga that's a complete path to God. The jnanam and the karma have to be combined with bhakti to be a complete path to reuniting
Right.
with Radha and Krishna in love. And so
Right. Absolutely.
it's really it's really important to know that when there's a push for more, just like, and it's true about anything in life, right? So like in gardening, if you do a huge garden and you do it in devotion, or if you do a small garden and you do it in devotion, does it seem like one is more than the other? The mind will say, yeah, but not necessarily, because it depends on the love and the intent and the focus that went and you were doing while you were gardening in the spot. You could plant one plant, and if you did it with nothing but pure love, there would be nothing else that could touch that, whether it was a whole forest or not, you know?
Right. So he just told me that uh, if your Gurukul or any Gurukul don't have the aesthetic, beauty, music, and art, then it will not be able to attract the curious mind, the people, because we all are feeling and thinking people. It should not be like just thinking people. So knowledge will not work, but it should attract with these elements of music, art, and beauty and aesthetic, and what you say, the love part. So if traditional Gurukul integrates these things with their curriculum, then you will have much more incoming of students into your Gurukul, rather than just like old school, like you have very much disciplined curriculum and uh, all the amenities. It should not be like that, right? So it simply concludes that bhakti yoga should be means merged with gyan yoga and karma yoga. What I understood that from his point of view.
Yeah, it's hmm. There's always a certain amount of space that's left open for interpretation from one person's experience to the next. Or just as an example, there's space open in the translation of Sanskrit, depending on the body of scripture that the person translating has read and where they saw that word show up and what it was used for in that certain context. And there's a certain amount of space always there for individuality and for the person to have their own connection with God and their own experience with God. There'll be some similarities, like with Radha and Krishna. There's some similarities of, if you have this experience and it feels like this, then you're moving in this general direction, or something like this, but it won't be described perfectly. And there's a reason for that. It builds blind faith, it builds trust, it builds the experiential experience, where you have to have the experiences to fill in the gaps of, like, things we can't understand in the moment, or whether it's while we're doing something in seva, or something we read in scripture, or something our guru asked us to do, and our material mind and our material senses are running wild. There's always a space in there for us to relax and trust and grow our love for Radha and Krishna, and for that understanding to come. So in just one path of just Gyanam or just yoga or just those things, again, certain individuals it'll fit, but not everyone. And then again, it's helping people feel what resonates with them and their soul and their heart and their love when they're growing that for Radha and Krishna, and for connecting more with God like that. So hmm, it's kind of the same principle, and it comes back around. Your words were breaking up a good bit, but I think that might have been what you were asking.
Can you share something, means your spiritual experience, means that profoundly strengthened your devotion, means that the moment that you finally decided that yes, this is for me?
Oh yeah, that one's easy. I first started, and a friend of mine, I met my teacher probably 20 years ago now. No, more than that. I think maybe 30 years ago now, and I was a kid. But again, I was like a little redneck kid from North Carolina. So he was in orange, he's sitting on the floor, he's had like mark on his forehead. I had no idea. I was like, wow, that's way too much. I was like, you're super nice, but I just, so much I don't understand. So fast forward several years, a friend of mine had been studying with him the whole time. And that friend helped me get started on the path when I was looking for feeling better inside, and what love was. I had had some experiences where I realized what love wasn't, which are very important experiences. But then I was like, so I need to find what love is, true love, real love. And so then we'd go on walks, and I'd ask her questions, and she would talk about how she's hanging out with Radha and Krishna every day and never feels alone, and um, just enjoys the love and the bliss. So then I started my own practice at home, and I was doing the same kind of thing, hanging out with Radha and Krishna every day and growing and feeling better. And then my guru now came to town to stay with her to do his program or whatever. And she was like, oh, he's coming to town. Oh, he's here. Do you want to meet him? And I was like, no, I don't think so. Nope, I'm good. And so she asked me often. I was like, you're still answering all my questions. To meet him. I'm good. I don't need anything right now. And so I think like 6 months went by, 4 months, 6 months. It was a while. And I was like, okay, I'll go meet him. Let's see what this is like. And so I was in school and working at the time, and then I would go to his little class he would have each night, where one class we would read, I don't even know how many verses out of Sanskrit. Like, 100, 200. I don't even know. Huge amount. And then we do some music and things like that. But anyhow, sorry, long time getting to the point. So one night I was in class and he was teaching and it was just me and him. And like I had this feeling, this experience of like the sun being in my chest. And like Radha came into my meditation and she was just like, "Hi, I'm Radha." And then she and Krishna would visit me and be with me every day since then. And it's been like 10 years, 11 years. It's been a long time. And every day they're with me and every day working on growing the relationship more every day and more fulfilling every day and more loving every day. But that was the first experience where I was just like, wow. I don't really know what just happened, but wow. I mean, wow. That was amazing. Yeah. And then there's been other experiences along the way, but that was the first one. I was already starting to feel better, some from doing my practice at home, but that was the first really profound experience. The one after that, which happened maybe a month or so after that, it was pretty close together. I was I was still working in school, super busy, going to my teacher's little program at night when I could. And then one day I had this ache in my head and it just lifted and went away. And it was weird. It was like a clamp had been put on my head loosely, but it had always been there. So I didn't really notice it. And then one day it lifted. And that was so profound. I said, if nothing else comes from this, even if I continue to explore this was worth it. And so those
Yeah.
two were probably the most profound in the beginning, close together, memorable experiences. Yeah. Yeah, probably those two for sure.
Yeah, wonderful, fascinating, and truly devotional and even inspirational for those who are listening. Your experiences, I think, lived experiences stays with us forever, and that defines everything
Yeah,
what we do.
it has to be experiential, meaning you have to have the experiences to fill in the gaps and the trust and the faith because we can't really fully understand Radha or Krishna. We can love them and we can grow our love and they can love us. But we're not really understanding, like, we don't even understand, like, when we're doing devotion with them in the moment and they're cleaning our karmas. We kind of get it, but not, we don't really understand it. Like, we couldn't put like an equation on a board to explain it. You know what I mean? So there's
Yeah,
always a
sure.
certain such an element of faith and love and experience. But when the experience comes and your soul's like, yeah, and your heart's like, yeah, the rest of you is like, yeah. And then somebody's like, what was it and why and how? And you're like, I don't know. But yeah, you know, yeah, it's a big thing. Yeah, for sure.
Wonderful. I truly enjoyed the session. Your means the part of questions that was related to bhakti, I can see your face glowing and expressing, and the questions that were tricky ones more related to, let's say, knowledge, wisdom, and so you were much more serious and going through it. So I think you are a true means bhakti yoga practitioner, and not just a new practitioner. You are doing since, like you mentioned, like 30 years ago. So uh, it was truly enriching for me also, Prabhuji.
Yeah, so your words broke up again a good bit, but I heard the glow in face thing. So thank you for that. But I think the thing I'd want to say on that one is as you grow your love and as the love inside of you grows, all the hurdles become not hurdles. As an example, people who work really hard in austerities and things like that to create the space between them and their material mind and their senses to experience more divinity and experience more of God and simply grow in your love and your relationship with like Radha and Krishna and they it fills everything out so much. The bad habits and the stresses and the worries just lift. And it's a really natural, organic process. There's still purification that comes, and it comes in waves, and there's still things where you have to work on your stuff because that's part of the journey. But your okay, things like on a bad day, right? Let's say you stop at the bakery and you get a donut on the way home on a bad day. Well, after you start feeling more and more fulfilled inside and your happiness comes up, a bad day comes and you drive right by the bakery. It's not a fight. You're not like, don't do the donut. No, it's like you don't even think about it. Like it's not even, it doesn't even show up in your awareness or your understanding or your thoughts. And it's not from push, pull, fight. It's just, I don't know, you just have more love in your life. Yeah. And then it just becomes more and more and more what you do naturally. I don't know about the whole put on saffron and like living in a minivan part. That's a little over the top. I mean, it works for me and I'm really into it, but I don't recommend that right off the cuff, you know. But as you grow and as you have the experiences to expand and move closer to God and Radha and Krishna and their love, it's amazing the changes that happen and the flow that happens and the glowing that happens and yeah, fulfillment. Yeah.
So it
Yeah.
feels like we need to do a lot more conversation because I am still learning uh, from you. Means like I can feel it. Means it is coming with conviction and experience. It's not like you are repeating something you have read somewhere else. Like it's coming from you only. It's very much original, authentic, and coming from lived experience. So I think, uh, and I would like to thank you for your times, for giving your uh, Ashirvachan that we call in Sanskrit Ashirvachan to our audience. Yeah,
Awesome. Thank you so much, Ravi Ji. I really appreciate the opportunity. Yeah. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you.
welcome,
Awesome.
welcome,
Well, have
welcome,
have a
Prabhu.
blessed rest of your evening, and we'll talk soon. Radhe Radhe.
Sure, Radhe Radhe.
Radhe Radhe.